Hi everybody, welcome to Jewell Family Farm. Today I'm going to be making some soap. So the first thing that I do is, I use fresh goat milk from my goats. And so what I do is I freeze all my goat milk in little ice trays like this. And then once they're all frozen, I bag it into the Ziploc bags and keep it in the freezer. That way I can pull them out and get what I need whenever I need it. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to use this little scale right here to measure out my ingredients that I use to make soap. Today I'm just going to make a plain soap with no colorant and no fragrance in it. I have a request for that. They want a real mild soap that just plain goat milk soap. For I don't know. I guess maybe somebody has some kind of skin condition, or maybe they just don't like fragrance or colorants in their soap, and they just want it mostly organic as best possible. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to measure out my goat milk. Make sure you tare when you set your bucket on there to measure your stuff. You have to tare it each time. There's a little button on here that says tare, so you have to make sure you hit that every single time. Now you can do it in pounds and ounces, or you can do it in grams. And I usually do grams. I like to do grams better. So let me switch that to units of measurement, switch it to grams. So I'm at 0 now. I'm going to set my bucket on here, and then I'm going to hit tare to take it back to 0. Okay, so it's at 0 grams. So I want to add my goat milk first. Got a little bit over. Let me cut this one in half. Almost. All right, there we go. I always put this some kind of material down, or something that protects your countertops, because you are using stuff that's not good to get on your countertops, and plus it's hard to clean once you use like all these oils and different things. And if you spill some out of your crock pots when you're cooking it, it really is hard to get off. Another thing is, I want to tell you that I do have on gloves, and I have on long sleeves, and I have my glasses on. You can use goggles if you like. I got my hair tied back. You need to take some precautions. And the other thing is, if you get a little bit of the soap on you, or the lye on you, okay, so always have a little bit of apple cider vinegar around. So if a little piece gets on you, a little, after you add all the lye and everything together and you start cooking it or whatever, and you happen to splash some lye water on you, you can put some apple cider vinegar. Water won't dilute it, but the apple cider vinegar will, and it'll stop the burn. So always have that handy. Now these are not the best gloves if you're going to make soap a lot. I just ran out of my good gloves, and I just happen to have these, but at least it's something. So have you some, decent gloves. Okay, so we measured out that. So this then is going to go over here in an ice bath. Because I want it to get good. I want it to stay good and cold for one thing. And when I put my lye in there, I want it not to turn yellow. It will turn yellow. So I want it to, it'll cook. And so I want it to stay as cold as possible. So I put it in an ice bath. Okay. Let's measure out our other stuff. So now we're going to measure out some lye. This is very dangerous. And so you don't want to breathe it in. You want to have your windows cracked. And you know what? I'm going to turn the fan on the stove. I'm going to turn that on. You don't want your animals around you. You don't want any children around you. Okay? So we're going to tear this. Bring it back to 0. And we're going to put in our lye, sodium hydroxide. Yep. Lid back on it. Make sure it's out of danger. All right, we're going to take this over here. The other thing I wanted to tell you is always have utensils, and you can use old jars, you know, use things. You cannot use what you make soap with to cook with. All your soap making supplies need to be separate from your cooking stuff. So don't, you know, cross-contaminate them or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we're going to pour this on the goat milk. I'm going to stir it up a little bit. And we're just going to let it sit here. Okay. All right. We're going to let that sit there. The other thing is I have this little stick blender and it's in some hot water, so when I finish blending everything up, I stick it back in and it helps clean it a little bit. Alright, now we're going to get all of our oils together. And again, you need to tear this back to 0. Okay? Now we're going to add our coconut oil. And again, I have, you know, things that I use for just soap making. Lard in. We're going to tear it. We're going to leave this on here. We're going to tear it back to 0. It's easier to put your, and this is in grams, put your solids in first. Before you put your liquids in, because you can take your solids out, but you cannot take your liquid out. Okay. All right. Now we're going to put our olive oil in. pour this slowly, because if you go over on this, you can't take it back out. And stop pouring for a while, because sometimes it takes it a while for the numbers to pick up on your scale. Keep forgetting how much I need. Okay. It's getting close. Alright, that did it. Alright, now I like to put a little bit of castor oil in my soap, just because it makes it more bubbly, makes the suds, makes more suds. So tare it again. I just put a little bit in there. Just gives it more bubble. More lather, I guess I should say. Okay. And that's all I'm going to put into this soap. So we're going to stick this in the microwave, and we're going to let all this melt down. Okay? And in the meanwhile, I'm going to go over and stir my lye. I'll take you over there. You need to stir that. Hopefully it stays nice and white like this. The ice makes a huge difference. If you didn't have the ice, this would turn as yellow as a sunflower. Alright. Just keep working on this for a few minutes. Now I'm not putting anything else in this this batch of soap. Like I said, they just want a plain batch of soap. I might put a little bit of oatmeal on the top just for decoration. Just some whole oatmeal, but just a little bit. It gives it a nice, when you put oatmeal in your soap, like I have ground oatmeal that I put in soap sometimes. And then I put sometimes on top, I just put a little bit of whole oatmeal. And what it does is, it just gives you that little bit of exfoliating property, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it really is a nice thing to, and especially in the winter time, to get, you know, like your skin exfoliated. So, yeah. See, it is starting to turn color just a little bit, but it's mostly staying a lighter color. You want to melt all this down. Let me turn my Now, the crock pots, also, that's another thing. I got mine at the Goodwill, and just bleached them, you know, the bowls up really good and cleaned them, washed them in hot soapy water. I think I put them in the dishwasher, but you don't want to use your crock pots for making soap and food. You can't do that. Your crock pots that you use for soap making can only be made for soap. And your crock pot that you cook with can only be used for cooking. You can't mix and match. You can't do that. You can't mix them up. Okay, our oils are all melted down. Okay, so our oils are ready. Our lye is, and our milk is completely dissolved. And we're going to pour this into the oils. Let's see. Hold on a second. You like to have something to stick your utensils in that you've been using in the lye. So we're going to pour this in. We're going to get our mixer out. Now this is going to make some noise. So if you want to turn your, I'll try to turn the volume down on it if I can, but if not, you might want to turn your volume down when I start mixing. Okay, we're going to pour this in. Stir it up a little bit. We're going to bring this to a light trace, and what that means is we're not going to mix it too long because we're going to cook this. This is a hot process. So, all right, I'm going to turn the mixer on now, so if you want to turn your volume down, go ahead and do that now. You're going to turn it on and mix it up a little bit, stir it, mix it up a little bit. Stir it. I don't want to mix it too long, so I want it to stay at a light trace. Alright, I would say that's probably a light trace. You can see the mixer moving. I don't know if you can see it or not. Mixer moving in here, and it makes like a little, you can see the trail of the where the mixer's bends. That's a trace. So that, I would say that's a light trace. Now I'm going to stick this over into my hot water here where I was telling you before. There. You don't want that lye all over your counters. All right. Here's a crock pot. I'm going to pour this in. Got this on low. Put the lid on it, and we're going to let this cook for a while. Alright, we're going to let this cook for an hour. This is on the low setting. We're going to let it cook for an hour, and then stir it every now and then within that hour, and we'll be back when it's ready for the next step. Okay, so this has been cooking for, let's see, about 25 minutes or so, and this is like the first stage. It starts to thicken. You want to stir it. Really good. Alright. Let that cook for a while longer. Okay, so while we're waiting on this soap, I was going to say that the soap goes through 3 phases of the hot process method, and so we have to go through all 3 phases of the soap, and I'll show you each one as it hits that phase. But I was going to show you my cart that I have here. Everybody's wondering how I you know, how I do my soap and stuff. And I got these carts here, and I just have a spare bedroom, and I keep everything on my cart. And I also have a couple of shells that look like these shells here. And I have those in the spare bedroom, and I put my soaps on and all my extra materials and stuff that I use to make soap. But yeah, so then that way I can just bring my cart out here and everything's on my little cart, and then when I'm done, I wash everything up and put it back on my cart and just take it back into the spare bedroom. So it works out really good, and it works really good for me that way, so it was very handy to find those. All right, we're waiting on this soap here to go to the next phase. It's still in the first phase, so it's getting thicker though. You can see it's starting to thicken up. Okay. Oh yeah, see it's starting to stick to the spoon. All right, let that cook a while longer. I got another one over here that I started. And it's a little bit thicker. It's starting to separate a little bit. The next phase is where the soap will separate a little bit and look like liquid on top. Alright. We'll wait some more on those. Okay, so as you can see, you can start seeing it start to separate out a little bit. You see the oil coming to the top there. Stir this some more. So it's going into its second phase now. Look how thick it is. You see how thick it is now. And the oil was starting to separate out, so let's come over and look at the other one. It's still in the first phase. It's getting thick though. We'll be separating shortly. This one's about 5 minutes behind the other one. Okay, so if you can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's oil, quite a bit of oil gathered on the top of this soap. You can see if I wiggle it, maybe you can see the oil. Let's see if I can get you down here closer to it. Okay, so now we're in the second phase of this soap. And we're heading into the last phase, so this will start like swelling up in the pot here. When it does that, we're going into the last stage. Okay, so the last phase is when it says it's going to look like petroleum jelly or a glossy mashed potatoes. So it kind of does look like that. I'm going to stir this up. It's almost there. Not quite, but almost. Let me bring you over and show you the other one. It looks a little bit different. See, it's starting to come up in the pan around, you know, swell up in there, and it starts, see how it looks like Vaseline type stuff? So it's getting there too. Let's give it a good stir again. Alright, it's almost there. Okay, so this is just, I think this is ready to put into the molds. I'm not going to add anything to this one. This one's just going to be a plain goat milk and soap. Yep, I think that's it. That looks pretty good. Okay, let me get my mold. We'll pour it in. Put some pot holders on my hands. All right, let me scoop this back here. Just going to pour this in. All right. See if I can make a mess. All right. I'll let that sit there and get the other one out. It's probably ready to. We'll turn this off and move it out of the way. Put this in the sink. Good thing about this soap is you don't have to let it cure. Since it was a hot process soap, it cooks all the lye out, or all the danger of the lye out, and it doesn't need to cure. So as soon as this cools and sets, I'm gonna probably tomorrow afternoon sometime, probably cut it up, and it'll be ready for sale. Let me bring you over here to this one, because I'm going to put some stuff into this one. I'm going to put some oatmeal in this one. Turn this off. And we'll mix some oatmeal in with this one. Put whole oatmeal in it just for it to be more of an exfoliating soap. A lot of my older customers like this, especially in the winter time. It's really good for their, they like it because they say that it helps their skin and gets rid of all the, dead skin cells, and the oatmeal just gives it that little bit of a scratchy, not scratchy, but it's like exfoliating feel, and they like that a lot, and I do too. Put a little bit in there. I don't want to put too much. I don't want to be too scratchy. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit on top when it's done. I'm not gonna put any. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna put any fragrances in this either. Alright, so I think this one here is done also. slippery. Of this out. So I get a hold of it a little bit better. Okay. Try to get it level out so all the bars are the same size. A little bit of oatmeal on top of this one. Now this oatmeal I keep with my soap stuff. I don't keep it in my kitchen. It's just plain old oatmeal. It's old-fashioned oats. Everything in here is all natural and not all of it is organic, but some of the ingredients that I use in the soap is organic, but they are all natural ingredients. All right, so there it is. That one's done. That one's done. Both the same recipe. I just added some oatmeal to this one, so there it is. And I'll come back later on and probably tomorrow and finish out this video at cutting the soap. So, you know, watch for the video tomorrow on cutting the soap. I am going to upload this video today, and then the one where I cut it will be tomorrow. Let's see if I get you down here closer where you can see it. All right, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good day, and please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Count your blessings, and we'll see you on the video tomorrow. All right, bye.